Give us some sports news now. Well, Cricket South Africa simply cannot get themselves out of the headlines. This time around is the composition of the new Cricket South Africa board. The Interim Board's mandate from the Minister of Sports, Minister Nathi Mthetwa, includes ensuring the recommendations of the Nicholson Commission, which took place, wait for it, 10 years ago. They want them to be implemented. To help us understand the problems, is sports journalist Khanyioso Twakhu. Khanyioso, welcome to SABC News Channel, The Full View. Thank you indeed for joining us. Where does one start? I mean, I could say to you, the Nicholson report, 10 years, we're still waiting for it. That is going to probably take us 10 years to speak through it. What is going on in the halls of Cricket South Africa? And I want to say to you, it shows by the performance of men's cricket team, but it seems to be on the up when it comes to the females cricketers.
Good evening, Job, and to the viewers. I mean, if you remember correctly, we were still covering that particular commission all of 10 years ago. I mean, the recommendations were straightforward that a board that will take over has to have a minimum of 9 independents at the time. From what I'm currently understanding is that they're looking at having 7 independents and 4 members' council members. Clearly, the members' council does not want to be outweighed from a majority perspective, which for all intents and purposes defeats the very purpose of what the interim board has been doing. If we look at it this way, the members council will have known over the past 10, 15 years that having that kind of structure simply does not work. There's been little accountability. Nothing has worked with how things have been with regards to having a non-independent majority on the board. Why not try something new? If it means that you're going to have to lose your, in inverted commas, privileges, you are there to serve the game. The game should not be serving you. So what we are discovering, not what we are discovering now, what has become clear is that the members' council will not vote or do anything that is in the interest of the game, because interests of the game dictate that there's a necessity that we need to change a governance structure to see whether an independent heavy governance structure will work. It's clear from the members' council that there is a massive reticence to allow that to happen. So it's something that I simply do not understand.
I want to read an excerpt from the statement released by Cricket South Africa this afternoon. It says, quote, "There was disagreement between the interim board and the members' council specifically on the concept of having a majority independent board," which is what you have just laid out. Now, my question then comes in, and it's possibly not only in cricket, in most of our sports, the predominantly white sporting codes, unfortunately that is the fact, rugby included, but rugby seemed to have turned that page, so to speak. You've got teams who are more transformed than others, but we're getting there with the numbers, maybe at Springbok level, we're seeing it now. Cricket, surely they can learn that change is not that bad.
Put it this way, sport is a multi-million rand business. In some areas, it's a billion rand business. You now need business professionals who may or may not have a background in the sport to run the game. The last thing you want is to have a professional, not a professional, but a council made up of people of various professions, making decisions on behalf of a sport that has so much money at stake. I mean, we've seen a number of the bad decisions that were taken during the members' council, and you realize that maybe some of the members are ill-equipped to understand the nuances of the Companies Act. I mean, if you look at the Fundutsi report, a lot of it boils down to a non-adherence to the Companies Act. I mean, that for directors, it's a non-negotiable. So it's clear now that, in particular with South African sports, while there is a need to retain that particular structure of having federation presidents on the board, a sport that involves multi-millions of rands needs to ensure that it is professionally run by people who are able to account for it effectively. So what we have seen over the past 10 years, actually the past 15 years with Cricket South Africa, is that there's been a lack of accountability with regards to how the game has been run. So, I mean, there is an opportunity to ensure that, to actually give an independent heavy board a try. Give it a 5 to 10 year period. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I mean, a decision has been taken to scrap the franchise system that has been in the 16 franchise system that has been in place since 2004. A decision that, for all intents and purposes, could work, could not work. But the least you could do is to what? Give it a try.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the same could be done with this particular system where, again, the members' council needs to give this particular structure a try. If it doesn't work, they can go back and say, we gave this thing a try, it did not work.
Yeah. Then it boils down to the first question I asked you, on the field of play, accountability in that essence. Mark Boucher, take us through what you feel has been, I don't know, is it a shaky start to his tenure, or shaky tenure it has been so far?
Look, coaching is very difficult in that sometimes you may move from an environment where you had a fair bit of success and you move a level higher where you find things are a wee bit different. If you look at what happens at franchise level in particular, at franchise level, you are able to assemble the team that you want. Whereas at national team level, you play with what is available. It so happens that with the Proteas men's national team in particular, the national team is actually going through a transitional phase where there've been a raft of retirements. And with those raft of retirements, there have been a number of players who've been phased in. There's been a middle management of players that has now moved to senior player status. So the results have shown that there have been steps that have been taken forward, but there've been a number of steps that have been taken back. But the thing now with coaching, I think you look across all sporting codes. Yeah. The bottom line results, and unfortunately, especially at test match level, the results haven't been coming. At ODI level, there hasn't been enough ODI cricket that South Africa has played to judge Mark Boucher on. But with the T20 cricket, it's not looking pretty. And unfortunately, with the World Cup taking place this year, there is a fair bit of pressure for Mark Boucher to perform. Look, there is an incoming Pakistan series that will consist of 4 T20s, 4 ODIs that could actually write his ledger at the moment. But when you look at results, there have been a number of young players that have been coming through. I mean, there's been a wider group that has been picked for the T20s and the ODIs because of the teams, or because of the series taking place under a COVID bubble. The players need to be the same system at the same time. Players can't be moved in and out of the bubble unless there's injury. So look, it's the ledger at this point in time is not looking good for Mark Boucher, and coaches are judged on their results. So the results aren't looking good at the moment. But again, should he be given leeway? I think it's fair, because the last thing you want to do is to judge coach on a small sample, on a small sample. Whereas if the sample is big enough, it can be said that you're given an opportunity over a fair amount of time, and in this period in this period, you did not produce the requisite results. 2
captains announced as well recently. Themba Bavuma getting the nod finally. We know his capabilities. A lot of us in the media have been saying, give him more responsibility, give him something to work towards. What do you make of that?
A lot of people have been making a big issue about Themba's averages in List A cricket, which is domestic, limited overs cricket, and first-class cricket. People also need to look and understand that cricket is a simple yet complex game where your numbers don't always tell a story of how well, where you play, how you play, who you play against. And when you look at Themba, where he may come across as an inexperienced white ball player, is yet to play a combined 20 white ball games in both formats. But when you take it a step down, he's done very well as a captain with the Lions in limited overs cricket. And there isn't a better proving ground than actually leading very well at franchise cricket. So if you now say, as an outsider, that what has Themba done as a captain, one can take it back to the 2018-2019 CSA franchise T20 final, where he scored 100. That was effectively the difference between them and beating the Warriors. So look, I mean, the same would also with Dean Elgar. Dean Elgar is the most experienced player now remaining in the national team. There was no other option but to elect him as captain. Yes. I mean, in Themba's case, he's the most proven limited overs captain in the team setup. When he's not playing for the national team, he's on duty with the franchise team, and the franchise team is doing well. So it's clear that you, in a team setup, when you've got someone who's doing well at domestic level, you have to pick that certain player's captain. If, let's say, Zubair Hamza was doing well for the Cobras were winning domestic limited overs tournament, and he was part of the squad, it's a no-brainer. He needs to become captain, because clearly he knows something about leadership and putting a team together and taking a team forward. So it is a good choice, and hopefully the team will actually start doing well under his guidance.
Yeah. We're going to wrap it up. We're running out of time, but I cannot not touch on the Momentum Proteas. They've been looking good, those ladies.
Look, you know when a team makes you be at a loss for words, that is the ladies at the moment. I mean, you look at the 4-1, doesn't even begin to describe the excellence that they've played. In those 4 matches, they were chasing against Spain. If you look at how the men's national team have struggled against Spain in the subcontinent over the past 2 years, you then put that in the same context with regards to how the women's team has actually chased. I mean, that 4th ODI when they chased down 269 was a cut and paste for coaches to approach a chase in difficult conditions against Spain, where all the batters took responsibility, and they actually made sure that they managed the chase to a point where at no point did the team panic, and they saw off the total very easily. So hopefully they are able to sustain. The critical part now is for them to sustain this 50-over momentum in particular through to when they actually play the World Cup. Remember, as a 50-over side, the Momentum ladies team has been a very formidable side. Remember that they were semi-finalists in the 2017 World Cup, and they've been able to sustain that momentum. They've won a series in New Zealand. They've won a series in India. It's a pity that COVID-19, for all its intents and purposes, robbed the public of seeing South Africa play against Australia. Hopefully that particular fixture takes place, because I think it will give us a very good guide into regards to where that team is.
Yeah, Khanyioso, unfortunately, we run out of time. As I said, these topics we can, if I could ask you to stick around and do it again at 8:30. Unfortunately, we can't. And hopefully those women, as you're saying, just a quick one, the sponsorship is what is important. I hope, you know, South Africa corporate SA is looking in and saying maybe we should actually start throwing money at these ladies.
Look, I mean, performance has to be rewarded. They are playing well. I mean, their contracts now has been extended from 14 to 15. So clearly there is an investment in the national team. The most important thing that needs to take place is to ensure that the lower tiers are structured in a way that there's now the pipeline is taken care of, because for a team to be performing well, there needs to be a fully functional pipeline. Yes, now if that pipeline is financially taken care of from a provincial perspective, where players are, where women cricketers are able to focus on cricket as a profession instead of having to worry about academics and worrying about families, I think then the game will be fully sorted.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Interesting conversation we had there. Unfortunately, I said we've run out of time. Do stay with us on SABC News Channel.